Dan and Corey here, welcoming you into Libservative.
The great fundamental issue now before our people. We, the people, cannot turn back.
Yeah, welcome in to another rousing rendition of Libservative, intellectual idiots fostering political and cultural literacy. Nobel the Bodysnatcher tonight. And Corey Walsh, next to me on the screen here, is recording.
And he's
tonight,
Dan Griffin.
is recording tonight from a dumpster. I had to get that in first.
I know. I was just trying to cut you off.
That
I'm
priority
moving my studio.
to a dumpster.
A green room.
It's like a priority waste dumpster there. Down
I'm
there
in a
behind
green
you.
room.
Nobody's ever been hit like
it's
that.
funny. I've now had, if you go back and look at all of our different streams, I think I've been in 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be my 5th spot I've been recording from the podcast. But this is a tiny room in the house. I was using a big room and I was just huddled in one small corner for the last year, and then casually mentioned to my wife, like, hey, maybe we should switch these rooms, and she got super gung-ho about it, and now I am in another room, so it's not that exciting of a story.
The old room was big enough for one of Diddy's parties.
Yeah,
That's actually the
ahead.
thing I learned this week. It's the thing I learned this week, Corey.
What?
That Diddy is throwing tantrums in prison because he's jealous of Mangione. According to a source, yeah, that's true.
I don't understand. Like, they're both in prison.
He's jealous of all the positive attention that Luigi Mangioni's getting.
Yeah, that's because he didn't rape a bunch of women. He killed a CEO that was letting people whose business model was letting people die on the stroke of a pen.
According to the New York Post, Sean Diddy Combs is throwing tantrums about the attention.
What is
fellow
he doing?
inmate
Is he stuffing the toilet with toilet paper? With toilet paper to flood the cell?
I don't know. Luigi Mangione is taken from him on the inside. I'm sorry, from inside their notorious New York City lockup, and that may put the accused CEO killer on the disgraced rapper's shit list.
Oh no! So I'll tell you what. I bet you Diddy is not having the greatest time in prison, but Mangione is being regarded as a little folk hero inside the prisons.
I think Diddy's jealous because Luigi's hot and all the hot dudes want to push his stool in instead of Diddy's. So he's all bent out of shape about.
Actually, they're treating him nice and they're cutting his hair. You know what I mean? And taking care of him. Diddy, I feel like Diddy doing the shit he did, I feel like he probably a lot of people probably aren't too much of a fan of him in prison.
You can only buy one bottle of baby oil at commissary at a time, Combs.
And they're 8 ounces. Fuck. That's a travel size.
After Mangione was arrested for allegedly gunning down United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in early December, he was booked into the same facility as the 55-year-old music mogul. Since he arrived at NBC, Mangione, who is being held in protective custody, has become a sensation among other inmates, the Daily Mail reported.
Which is pretty wild that it is allegedly, because my friend Luigi was at my house and we were popping off fireworks and putting bottle rockets in the sewers just to get an extra explosion. So
who really did commit the more heinous crimes, though? Honestly.
Between the two?
Allegedly, right? It's Diddy, right?
Between the two, Diddy, 100%. What the fuck? There's alleged murders under Diddy's rap sheet as well, and we're talking about some of the greatest fucking rappers of all time.
Allegedly.
You know,
Nobody's ever been hip like that.
Now, I sometimes like to make the argument as a hot take just to get people a little riled up that Tupac and Biggie both were only big because they were cut down in their prime.
Mm.
But people don't like that one.
No, I disagree only because they were like
Everyone
global
disagrees.
sensations.
Everybody disagrees.
Only because they were like global sensations at the time that they were alive.
Right. Yeah, no, that's just a ridiculously stupid hot take that I take just to get people riled up. That and that DUI shouldn't be felonies. That one also gets people fired up.
Especially cops.
Oh, and then what's another one? Oh, prisoners should vote. I like taking that hill. And that 16-year-olds should be able to vote. I like taking that hill. Even though that one I think actually has some merit. I think that one has some merit. If you're paying taxes on money that you're making, you should be able to have a say in your vote of what those taxes are doing.
I think you should have to take an average competency test to be able to vote, but that's just me.
That's fair. I mean, that's a hot take.
Yeah,
but might as well just bring back poll taxes.
Not as hot as Mangione.
Might as well just bring back poll taxes, Dan.
Yeah,
because they used to do literacy tests, and then it was rebranded. Because I mean, in the beginning, before the poll taxes, like there was literacy tests. I believe there was a time where there was literacy tests for some polls, but they were put in place intentionally to affect like black voters. I think they were thrown in the mix after like either the 14th or 15th Amendment. I forget which one it is that allows everyone to vote.
Yeah, if there was like a competency test, it would get racialized right away. Like,
right,
but right away.
I feel like on the broader scheme of things, it being racialized,
Didn't know she was black.
Distraction from it being a class issue. Because I promise you, there's way more stupid fucking white people based on ratios, right? Based on ratios, there's more white people in our country. And so there's obviously more white people that wouldn't pass the competency test versus black people. And I would also argue that saying a competency test is racial or is racist in itself, because then you're
what are you trying to say? The black people aren't going to pass the competency test? Is that what you're trying to say?
I love it when people one of my favorite things that liberals do is when it's well-meaning, like, you know what I mean? Like they're coming from like a place of like trying to be like a good person, but they'll fucking say something like that, like, right, like black people don't have IDs to vote, and it's like, wait, hold on, what are you trying to say?
It's like, or like just the whole idea of like, well, we have to help marginalized groups. Are you just assuming that everybody in this marginalized group needs help? Is that what you're saying? No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I mean.
We have to say
that's white privilege. That you're privileged enough to help marginalized groups.
I didn't know she was black.
So what do we got on the docket, Dan?
Oh my God, dude! The what the hell was the New Orleans guy's name? Shamsuddin Jabbar.
It was something rather Arabic.
Have you seen this man's wives?
Wives? Oh,
yeah,
no, not all. Not yeah, but they weren't all at the same time. They were all.
I understand. I understand that. Yeah,
right. Well, that's a negative connotation. Like, you got to distinguish that.
Well, I'm just
just saying. I'm not trying to be funny. I know I'm chuckling when I say it because it sounds absolutely absurd, but
people
that is
think
a
what
distinction
they want.
We have to make.
Look at these women.
Oh,
just knockouts. Look at this. It's just like,
you know what I find interesting is
how did this guy become such a loser? Oh wow, this is just refreshing all over the place now.
Right, but so what's interesting is like, when did he become such an extremist that he decided to put an ISIS flag on his car when he did this? Because it's clear that his wives weren't necessarily following the religion very close. They're not wearing hijabs.
Yeah, so I guess I don't remember which one, but one of these women came out and said that he wasn't like a super religious Muslim when they were together. And this wasn't that long ago. So it was clearly like a recent radicalization.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, he lost all these hot broads and
Became an incel and was like, I'm just gonna fucking run people over in my electric rented car. That's not even mine. Yeah, what
this isn't funny. Yeah, how did he become such
a
loser?
We need to figure out what it is that's making people become losers like that to the point, because then we got to be like, like maybe some fun little razzing of people is one thing, but we can't do it to the point where they're gonna drive a truck into a crowd. Did you hear that?
What?
Okay, good. Never mind.
They insult us in an attempt to gaslight us, and we will not stand for it.
Thank you, Madam Vice President, for only a few more days.
Soundproofed, yes. So if you guys hear any noises, I apologize. But like this room,
I think you're good. I can't hear shit.
Thank God.
I can't hear nothing.
It's just bullshit.
It's because your headphones are off.
They're on. I assure you. They're on. This screen is bright as hell in my fucking face.
Yeah, you look
did you have anything you learned this week? Anything good?
Yes, actually. What I learned this week. Well, you'll love it. I learned this week that George Santos has a podcast. And
yes.
It is called Pants on Fire with George Santos.
Oh, how new is this?
So they were supposed to this is how I learned about it. You ready for this? This is fucking wild. It just adds more to the George Santos saga, and it just makes it just fucking that much better, right? It's not just like there's always like a fucking weird story with everything with him, right? It's not just he just decided to start a podcast.
The legacy of George.
So back in last September, he planned on
don't get bogged down by all the haters out there.
He said due to logistics and then like other like problems, he couldn't start it in September, and he didn't start it until September or December.
So
he couldn't start it in September, had to start it in December. And so he started this podcast in December in an attempt to make money to help pay off his like $500K he owes in restitution and like wire fraud fines and shit. Right. So this motherfucker was supposed to be sentenced in February. And this motherfucker was able to just fucking strut himself into the courtroom and get the sentencing pushed back 2 months so he can make more episodes of his podcast to help pay off his fines. He is now being sentenced in April, not February.
There it is. Pants on Fire with George Santos.
Yep.
Let's see. The first episode he had on Steven Galanis, co-founder and CEO of Cameo.
Dude, he's making a fucking killing on Cameo.
Steve Galanis is here to tell George. Hold on, let me find it here. Steve Galanis is here to tell George. Okay, here we go. Is here to tell us if George really broke every record on the platform. George talks about his most embarrassing cameos, including the time he was tricked into giving a shout out to a despicable organization. And Steve discusses how he turned his relatively new app into a cultural touchstone with value of over $1 billion. That's the first episode. Second episode, talk to Isaiah Washington, from like an actor from Grey's Anatomy. I don't know. Don't really care about that one. The Jesse Smollett attackers, Ola and Paula. American actor Jesse Smollett, famously convicted of orchestrating a fake hate crime on himself. is back in the news because his conviction was overturned due to a technicality. We're sitting down with the brothers who Jussie allegedly hired to attack him. Ola and Bola. Ola and Bola? Name these people.
I know, dude.
So it sounds like a wrestling tag team. They discussed if either of them had a sexual relationship with Jussie and their theory that Jussie was directed to stage the attack by a much more powerful force. This is going to be so good. I'm going to listen to the entire backlog tomorrow, dude. This is gonna be awesome.
I started one. I had one playing while I was in here, like doing a little show prep, looking up different stuff. And like, you ready for like the?
Don't get bogged down by all the haters out there.
I see the entire backlog. There's 4 episodes.
Yeah, the description is Pants on Fire with George Santos is a weekly gossip show that serves up a mix of candor and comedy as George sits down with guests from politics, pop culture, and beyond. But let's face it, George is known to tell a lie or two and might not be the most reliable storyteller. Enter co-host Naja Hall, George's de facto fact checker. George and Naja's conversations are always spirited, and when decorum falls to the side, always, some listeners might be left clutching their pearls.
It's so good. I'm so happy about this. I've
I
never been more excited. I have never been more excited to listen to a podcast in my entire life. That's going to be my new favorite show. We are going to talk about it every week on this show until I get bored with it. It's so fucking awesome.
Don't get bogged down by all the haters out there.
And then
that's right, George.
Oh, you already played it. That's literally what I was scrolling to go play it. Don't be bogged down by all the haters out there. I was going to say, for anyone who doesn't want him to have a podcast.
I hope you make
all the haters out there.
I have never wanted anybody to make like a rise back from their fall more than George Santos. He's an American treasure, and we need him. We need him to be around for a long time.
And then I have one more for you. I have a listener of the show. I don't know if he wants his name to be named, but we've been on his podcast. He's been on ours. He shared this with me. And he goes, my new AOC. And then I was like, okay, like, I'm not exactly sure what he means by that. So I'm going to share with you the video he shared with me. And I want to see your reaction because I absolutely, just because, I'm not even going to say anything else. So here's his new AOC.
I'm waiting.
That have been on the books for over a century. You know, these are laws that are rooted in deeply American ideas that no corporation is above the law. And one of the things, Ariel, that's really exciting about this area is it does get a lot of bipartisan support. We saw support from across the ideological spectrum to advance really important and basic reforms to our antitrust and consumer protection laws that will make a difference for hardworking Granite Staters.
She's cute. A little mousy, but I dig that sometimes.
And Maggie, it's caused by federal government. You're part of a Biden administration who causes high inflation.
That's not his new AOC. That is.
People are in my district complaining about high cost everything, but you don't have a solution. You're just repeating DNC talking points.
Hold on, pause it.
Thinking skill, or you need
Isn't that
to study economics?
Isn't that the woman from the Spike Cohen debate?
Lily Yang.
Lily Tang William. Lily Tang William. Yeah. That's her.
No, that's Lily Tang. Sorry, Lily Tang.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you had the same fucking like
it's just like
initial reaction, and it might show like our men, our male fucking genetics showing through when someone says my new AOC. A lot of guys simp for AOC, not necessarily because of her politics, but because of the way she looks.
Because she's hot.
So when he first shared this with me, I see this girl. She is definitely easy on the eyes. And I'm thinking the same thing you are. Okay, that's his new AOC. And then Lily Tang just fucking comes in like a goddamn wrecking ball. And then I realized, oh, he's talking about her. But it is the funniest fucking thing because listen to what she's actually saying. This girl on the left is literally like the poster child for an establishment candidate. Like you heard her first
Right.
part, right? And then I'm gonna rewind it just a tiny bit because listen to what Lily Tang's response is to what she said.
Causes
Yeah,
high
Lily Tong
inflation
Williams.
in
She's
federal
awesome.
government.
I love her.
Go ahead, Lily.
Sorry, here you are again, Maggie. It's caused by federal government. You are part of a Biden administration who causes high inflation. I heard people who are in my district complaining about high cost everything, but you don't have solutions. You're just repeating DNC talking points. Do you have independent thinking skill? Or do you go to business school to study economics 101? Who actually caused inflation? It's a federal government printing money. It's $1 is devalued to 70 cents, or like maybe later go to 50 cents.
But she's
That's
fucking
why
right.
people are
Like
buying
that's
other things rather than continue to use fiat money. They're buying gold, buying silver, buying crypto because they say US dollar is going down. You
Lily,
need to
give her a
understand
chance.
that.
Give her a chance to respond.
Well, respectfully, look, I think this is an area where my opponent and I have very different views of what should be done to make life less hard for hardworking people in the state. One of the most important things that the next Congress will take up is a question of what to do about tax fairness in this country. One of the reasons that we find ourselves in this
it's
predicament
great though.
is
Listen to
because
her
Donald Trump
responses.
decided to advance a tax policy that was really dedicated to a basic idea, to giving a big break to the wealthiest in this country and to the biggest corporations. This is a worldview that my opponent has embraced. She believes that we should give a break to the wealthiest and the biggest corporations and hope for the best, hope that the results will trickle down to hardworking people. I take a very different approach. I believe that the middle class deserves a tax cut. And I
Even
believe
kind of
that we
sounds
will
like
do a lot
AOC,
for
a
this
little more
country
reserved.
by ensuring that we don't continue this disastrous
That's
tax
not
policy.
Mr.
who
Williams.
our buddy was talking
You are
about.
wealthy. You are worth $20 million to $30 million. How do you know about regular people suffering? Do you go shopping, go to Walmart, buy food? I talk to those people. And you pretend to be renter in Nashua a few months ago, move back to run for this open seat with millions of dollars from Washington, D.C. insiders. And the millions of dollars. I don't have money to run a TV ad. And you pretend you are poor, complain rent is so high. You couldn't save that apartment for other people to rent in
Lily
Nashua.
Tong
Just
Williams
go
is
back
so
to
great.
$2 million home in Portsmouth. Please don't say that because you do not understand regular people's concern. People cry in my arms on District 2.
Maggie.
You know, this is
She doesn't
such
even
an
know how to
important issue. I
respond. You
hope
know what I mean?
I am,
Like
you're focused on me. I am focused on the voters and on the issues that matter to them.
she's doing a
that have
good
been on the
job,
books
but
for
tastes
over
like
a century.
cigarettes.
You know, these
how
are
do you
laws that are
debate
rooted in
against
deeply
Lily
American
Tang?
ideas that no corporation is
don't.
above the law. And
She's
one of the
awful.
things, Ariel, that's really exciting about this area is it does get a lot of bipartisan support. We saw support from across the ideological spectrum to advance really important and basic reforms to our antitrust and consumer protection laws that will make a difference for hardworking Granite Staters who are feeling pain.
Candidates. Go ahead,
I'm
Lily.
sorry, here you are again, Maggie. It's caused by federal government. You are part of a Biden administration who causes high inflation.
Oh, it started over. But yeah,
Yeah, it
dude,
did.
like yeah, it took me aback too.
Forever to say nothing.
Because one of the people that's a fan of the show, and we're a fan of his, he shared that with me, and he's like, "This is my new AOC." An attractive woman pops up. And I was like, "Okay, I get it." And then, nope, fucking Lily Tang, man. And I'm just thinking, like, how do you, like, because like she has to be so articulated and surgical with her responses and everything she says, because it could easily be misconstrued as like racist. You know what I mean? To Lily Tang. And Lily Tang is out there actually like pretty spitting like what we would like, you know, we're fans of the free market type stuff. She's like spitting more stuff along that ideological ring. And
well, she's the former what did I see? The former chair of the Colorado Libertarian Party. Like she's a genuine Spike Cohen libertarian, which is why she's never going to win an election. But yeah, she's awesome. She just remember when she just popped up at the Spike Cohen David Hogg debate at the end when the questions were being asked. Like,
right.
Where
That's
did Lily Tong come from?
That's how we got introduced to her, I think, right?
Yeah, I think that's the first time I remember seeing her. Yeah. She didn't win that. She didn't win that election, but yeah, she's pretty great. And she's like, she's like such a, I mean, maybe this is going to sound like racist to some people, but she is such as like an amazing little like Asian tiger mom who's just like no nonsense and just goes at it. I love it. She's just the best. She's so great.
You know, it's anybody, when English is your second language, and God bless people who come here and they, you know, they're trying to become an American citizen. But when English is your second language, it's just like when we learn French or when we learn Spanish, we don't learn the slang. We don't learn like the dialect and like the way to.
You do now. You got a smartphone.
Craft it, right? But like craft your words essentially, and like make the language itself sound normal to someone else who speaks that language.
Well,
it's very short. It's very direct. You're just getting your point across. And Americans who hear someone speaking English as a second language often find it comes across to them as rude, but it's not. It's well intentioned. It's just they don't know how to add the cadence and add the different like extra like oomph to different words to try to properly convey your message like they do in their own person, like in their native language. And so like because like I have a lot of my employees, you know, they speak English as their second language. And sometimes you see people be like, wow, that was rude. And it's like, no, it wasn't.
Somebody's going to call ICE.
No, they're illegal. And
that's what you say they are.
You're damn straight. I say they are some of the best goddamn workers we got.
You ever been into a kitchen lately? A commercial
But
kitchen?
like, no, just people that speak English as a second language. It's just direct. They don't know how to just, because like a lot of English people speak of people, like, for example, I'm doing it right now as I'm talking about it. You just fill up the air with your voice because everyone just likes to talk. They don't know how to do that with English. So they just direct, no, you do this. It's like, whoa, what the fuck did you just say to me?
Yeah, Lily Tong is originally from China. And she really fucking hates communism. Like she's like one of those examples. She's one of those examples that like libertarians always point to of like, hey, have you ever talked to somebody who actually came from a communist country and you wonder why they hate the fact that you want to stomp on the Constitution?
You know,
it's so amazing to me. Well, what's amazing about that to me is this idea that people from foreign lands, in communist countries in particular, how much more they love and appreciate the Constitution of the United States than any of us do, because we just take it for granted. Yeah, and we have no problem stomping on it.
I almost use things like that as a like a barometer or like a checkpoint. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
Americans en masse aren't leaving America for socialist countries, but people in socialist and communist countries en masse are leaving for America.
Except for Ellen. Good riddance.
And then where'd she move to?
Didn't she move to the UK or some
I don't
shit?
fucking care. I didn't even know.
Yeah, nobody cares.
But I do know like through a friend who has family. They're from Serbia and stuff like that, which isn't even a country anymore. But they still do have what's the word I'm looking for? Not compassion, sympathy for like Putin and like Soviet Union communism and stuff like that.
Serbia is a country.
Oh, Yugoslavia. I'm sorry, not Serbia. Yugoslavia.
Serbia is part of the former Yugoslavia.
Right. But I have a friend whose family is Yugoslavian, and they, some of them, well, half of them are like super, you know, conservative, and then there's a couple of them that are like have sympathy for like the Soviet Union because everything was just taken care of. Because there was parts in in the Soviet Union where shit did just run decent. Not great, not bad, but it was stable.
Trains ran on time.
Yeah, that is one thing, right?
These trains ran on time. Hey, dude, speaking of communism, Canada, Canada is going to be the 51st state, according to Donald Trump. I love this because it's the latest. I love this whole thing, this whole saga, because it's the latest version of Trump just demonstrating what a WWE character that he is, which, you know, that's what I always call him. And this is just such a great example of him doing that, of him playing the heel wrestler. And everybody who's a fan of a heel wrestler loves this. And everybody who hates the heel wrestler goes, this is a threats to hostilely take over a sovereign nation. Trump is not going to make Canada part of the United States. Can I just make that prediction now? Like, this is not going to happen. And it is being talked about like it's actually going to happen. Now, I do have one issue with it, which is that, like, dude, Trump, can you please just stop shitting all over trade? Like, that's the part about this that I don't like. Like, if you think that that Canada is somehow taking advantage of the United States when it comes to trade, maybe they are. I don't really know a whole lot offhand about like trade with Canada right now because it's just not something that's really often talked about. But I have to imagine like a better way to solve this would be to like reach a better trade deal with Canada than to be like, oh, we're just going to make you a state. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I don't know. I love it though. This is so funny. This is one of the funniest things Trump has ever done.
So this is the thing
great.
that I feel like we've figured out about Trump, and it's like tempered our TDS like to an exponential value, is he says outlandish things out of the blue to throw people off and put them on their back foot for where when they're sitting there trying to steady their boat and like recalibrate what they're doing. They come back with like something that might even be like 10% of what Trump originally like fucking said, because he's always like, we're America, we'll do this, and and we have the military, and everyone's like, whoa, dude, chill, we'll do this, right? Like, let's start here as a negotiating point, and Trump's like, okay. For example, this whole Canada thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why is Trump's biggest issue with Canada? Because we spend a lot of money defending their borders and like the trade deficits and different things like that, right? So Pierre Poilievre, I don't know, I probably butchered his fucking last name.
Poilievre, I think
Poilievre.
I don't know.
He's the conservative. He's the
conservative leader of the Conservative Party,
right? Like basically
Canada?
Canada's Trump. Trump comes out and says all that shit about Canada, right? He tweets this: Canada will never be the 51st state. Period. We are a great.
You didn't need to say
country.
That. We already know.
Said period.
I know. That's what I'm saying, Pierre. You didn't need to say that. We already know.
Right. Because we are a great and independent country. We are the best friend of the U.S. We spent billions of dollars and hundreds of lives helping Americans retaliate against Al Qaeda's 9/11 attacks. We supply the U.S. with billions of dollars of high quality and totally reliable energy well below market prices. We buy hundreds of billions of dollars of American goods. Our weak and pathetic NDP liberal government has failed to make these points obvious. I will fight for Canada. When I am Prime Minister, we will rebuild our military and take back control of the border to secure both Canada and the U.S. We will take back control of our Arctic to keep Russia and China out. We will axe taxes, slash red tape, and rapidly greenlight massive resource projects to bring home paychecks and production in our country. In other words, we will put Canada first. And then he reads that and goes, okay, cool, that's exactly what I want. And it's just like, that's what he does. He just says shit. See,
exactly.
Like, it's like the quicker people figure that shit out, the better. Another example, like now we're going off, but we talked about Canada, but do you have anything else to say, or do you want to talk about Greenland?
Do I have anything else in my notes? Yeah, just maybe don't pick a trade war with Canada. Like, if that's the part about what Trump is suggesting here that should be the focus. Not like, oh, he's threatening to take over a sovereign country. It's like, trying to Trump wants to put Liz Cheney in front of a firing squad. Not what he fucking said. Everybody knows that's not what he fucking said. This time it actually kind of is what he said, but still it's like, what's the deeper issue here? And the deeper issue is that it seems like Trump is picking a trade war with Canada. That's the part you should be pissed about. That's it right there. But no, we got to make it way bigger. And I will say this is actually the last thing I had on Canada. I was kind of going through, I was just, thumbing through Twitter as if it's like a fucking newspaper. And there were a lot of Canadians on Twitter that were like, actually, that doesn't sound like too bad of a deal. Andrew wants to know, when does the Netflix special of WWE USA versus Canada versus Panama versus Greenland SmackDown going to premiere? I guess it depends on where it's filmed. Because Corey and I looked up like what's the population of Greenland, and it's like less than 60,000. Like you couldn't even fill Ford Field with the amount of people in Greenland.
The Panama one's interesting too. Yeah, he is. He's just coming after all these little countries. I think Canada only has 10% of our population, right?
It's something like that. And then like 99% of it lives in like the section closest to the border and the big city and the big cities in Canada. There's like this huge swath of land, which is why Trump's like, oh yeah, it sounds like a really good real estate investment. There's a lot of really good land up there.
So then there's Greenland.
Yeah.
And
not a big deal.
He's just saying like buying it, and everyone's freaking out about it, right? Free-balling Fetterman, I say that because he's always wearing sweatpants.
John Fetterman is fucking awesome. I love John Fetterman.
Pre or post stroke?
Both, because
my favorite was right there in the middle.
Did you hear him on Rogan?
No, I didn't listen to that
It was
one. I
pretty
should
good.
have. But here
good.
he is talking about the Greenland thing, and he makes a couple of good points. And here, I'll play it for you.
He was on Fox News. That's right. Well, can't talk about Fetterman. Fetterman's canceled. He was on Fox News. How dare you platform Fox News, John Fetterman?
Nike? 808 fiber freelancers have worked with Nike. Designers, developers.
Yep.
You think there'll be more of these parts? Go ahead.
Can I talk about like there's a lot of talk.
Oh, fuck me.
There'll be more of these
you're
parts.
having some
Go ahead.
issues over there.
Like there's a lot of talk about Greenland, for example. Now, and I know there's a lot of freakouts, and of course I would never support taking it by force. But I do think I do think it's a responsible conversation if they were open to acquiring it, and, whether just buying it outright. I mean, if anyone think that's bonkers, it's like, well, remember the Louisiana Purchase? I think Alaska was a great deal too. $50 million, I think it was. It was recorded. It was referred to as Seward's Folly, and now that was Alaska now. So I mean, open to having all kinds of conversations as well. And now I don't think it's not helpful to freak out, but some things might work out, some may not, but that's part of an ongoing dialogue. But he hasn't even taken office in 2 weeks. And, we really need to pace ourselves if we're going to freak out over every last tweet or every last conversation or press conference. Because, but
that's good. That's a good one, John. I like it. I like it.
I really don't know what he said at the end of that
So,
sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
He brings up two important points. First off, the idea of buying land as a country isn't something that's nefarious. It's a transaction between two people. And then if it's in good faith and it's not pressured or, or pushed through war or any sort of other nefarious dealings, if you're literally just making an honest transaction of as if you were buying property up in northern Michigan, I'm going to give you this money and you sell me this land. Louisiana Purchase, which led to like all of Manifest Destiny, like California, all of that. I think California was part of the Louisiana Purchase, wasn't it? Wasn't it just all that land?
No, California was not included. It was from Louisiana, and then it kind of
To
spread
the
out
Mississippi,
northwest.
maybe something like that. I forget. It was like basically the land that France was hanging out in.
It was all west of the Mississippi, but like out west, a lot of that was still owned by Spain at that point, like California and the land out there. But can I give you the progressive argument against what you just said?
Well, land shouldn't be owned by anybody. It belongs to the natives.
The Louisiana Purchase led to the destruction of Native Americans. And it's like, yeah, that's a shitty part of our history that we have to own. Greenland's much different. There are 55,000 people there. And I'm going to assume most, if not all of them, are of a really low melanin complexion.
And probably from other countries. And Greenland isn't a sovereign country. It's owned by the Dutch.
Right.
What was I gonna say? But the other, so the other thing that he brought up that's really important is we can't fall obviously not verbatim, but we can't fall back into the trap of wasting all of our time freaking out about every dumb thing that Trump says. Because he's going to say a lot of fucking dumb things. We have 4 years of this guy coming up. Do you remember the last 4 years with him? He said a lot of really stupid fucking things.
Donald Trump is a
he
bad
has
guy.
a rally
He's
once
a
a
bad
week
person.
and spends 3 hours on a microphone just riffing. We're gonna
He's
have
a
a ton of
wrestler.
We're gonna have a ton of sound bites of him saying really dumb things. Let's
He's
not
a
fall into the
professional
trap of
wrestler.
wasting all of our energy being consumed with him just saying dumb fucking things.
I think it's a very rude introduction.
Yeah, you're right, Trump. That was a rude introduction, but you say a lot of wild shit. So,
oh man. So the prediction's been made. Canada is not going to become part of the United States. I
would
just
say Greenland isn't either.
I mean, Greenland is at least a possibility. I think like you could if the deal works out and we buy it from the Dutch, then it's ours. Like, who gives a shit? Canada's not going to become part of the United States, and I cannot believe that even like the highest people in Canadian politics
are
felt
freaking out
the
about
need
it.
to respond to that. Like, why are you even responding? Why are you even responding?
Well,
and then
the conservative guy saw it as a political, like a
football,
a chance to see some spotlight, which was good on his part, like objectively in a political campaign.
I don't know that much about
America
Canadian
buying
politics.
Canada is trending on Twitter, and millions of people are looking it up. Might as well get
I guess
see what sticks.
I don't know that much about Canadian politics because, quite frankly, for the most part, I don't really give a shit. But what we do know is that Trudeau was awful and he stepped down, and there's a reason he stepped down. And this, from what I know about this Pierre guy, he doesn't seem like he would be a whole lot better.
You know what's interesting too, though, is like I heard this little tidbit today is Trudeau was the last one from the other than Putin, but he was kicked out of the G8 and they renamed it the G7 again. Trudeau was the last one from the pre-Trump era. And since then, a lot of the G7 countries have gone and swung more right than left since Trump came into office. And it makes you wonder, like, was Trump just the bellwether? And then, like, it's a constant pendulum. Like, it's the whole premise of our show of left and right, and how, like, I would say 99% of the issues, there is some middle ground, about things. And it seems like a lot of these countries are starting to swing right. Like you're seeing the AfD movement in Germany. Canada is looking at getting a conservative. A lot of the big countries, they're moving away from like being like radically left. I don't even like using that term because of the fact that's what Trump always says. The radical left.
The radical left Democrats, even though the Democrats aren't left at all.
Right.
And there are a multitude of reasons for why that's true. But that's the whole thing. Like it's just a pendulum swing. Things swung too far left in the West to the point where like Rob Bernstein on Dave Smith's show put it really, I like the way he put it. There's a certain amount of like socialism that the quote unquote market can handle. And there was just way too much socialism. The market was flooded with it and everybody went, fuck this, and elected Donald Trump in 2016. Then, we had, the weirdness with COVID. We're not going to get into the causes and all that, but like the craziness with COVID, I think that had a lot to do with why Biden was elected in the fucking first place. So that was kind of an outlier, but then the pendulum starts to swing back and then things get a little weirdly right wing and a little bit weirdly fascist, and the people don't fucking like that shit either. So guess what? That pendulum starts to swing back the other way.
Yep.
Yeah. And this is what it is now.
You're seeing a lot of like rugged capitalistic countries move towards more socialist policies, and you're seeing a lot of very socialist countries move back towards a more of a free market policy. And there's like, that's why it's all kind of landing in the mixed economy fucking pool. And it's just interesting to see. It's interesting to watch,
Man, I wish I had a chance to make that prediction last week, but
so my prediction, and I think it's gonna be one of our next topics, and this will actually be our segue. Are we done talking about this?
Yeah, it's hilarious. But you know what's funny is like next week, everyone will forget about this. This won't even exist anymore.
Yep. So my question for you
free
is,
speech.
do you think, like, a prediction I should have made was, do you think, or my prediction was that the argument around Section 230 is probably dwindling and dying? Which is really fucking easy to say now because of this, but
I think as a matter of public discourse, sure. Because first of all, I don't even think most people know what the fuck Section 230 is. I don't think they know what it is or why it's important. But
so for the people who don't know, Section 230 is a part of the telecommunications, and it's the it might be the Telecommunications Act, but don't exactly quote me on that. But in one of the acts regarding like TV, telephones, all of those different aspects of communication that are done other than like face to face, is Section 230 states that a broadcaster or someone who's offering a means of communication cannot be held liable by a third party using their means of communication. So, for example, before the internet, if
it's part of the Communications Act of 1934 that was enacted as part of the Communications Decency Act of 1996, which is Title 5 of the Telecommunications Act of 1996.
Yeah, so basically, like, it was put in place in 1934 originally, I think, for telephones, that like if someone was using a telephone,
radio,
or a radio,
yeah,
and they were going on there and they were spouting off some crazy radical shit, you couldn't hold the broadcaster or the telephone company responsible for the shit that someone that was just using their product said. And now that folds into social media and stuff, which I think rightfully it should. Facebook shouldn't be held liable if some fucking jackass is going on there and spewing some fucking white supremacy shit. But I also don't think that speech should be hindered. If you fucking hate it, you also are protected by Section 230 to hop on there and go, hey, you're a fucking idiot, and call them a bunch of words if you want. Like, you're both equally protected. It's, you're, even if it's not effective, you're participating in civil discourse, which is a foundation of democracy.
Oh man.
What?
Nothing. Sorry, I got distracted by one of Elon's tweets that's going to be shown as like super fucking racist. But never mind. That's not for this. That's not for this time.
Well, it's hot. It's a hot topic. What did he say? Now I'm curious.
No, it's he retweeted a
Nick Fuentes.
Says,
no, I'm just kidding.
I mean, more than I wouldn't be that surprised. He retweeted something that says studies show that men of non-European origin commit 84% of assault rapes, despite only making up around 10% of the population. An Algerian is 122 times more likely to commit aggravated rape than a Swede, and an Afghan is 69% more likely. And it's just a couple of tables that could have, or like graphs that could have been pulled from fucking anywhere.
Oh, right. He's hopping in the. Oh, I heard something about this. So he's hopping into the. There's a allegedly like a pedophilic ring, and I think the UK or something, and like there's Muslims involved in it.
Yeah, but Elon.
Yeah, I don't know too much to speak on it. I know that. I think that's what
I just saw the tweet and I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, he's gonna get a lot of people upset with that one.
Damn it. Anyway,
you should just focus on making rockets land.
Yeah, and making Twitter free speech, brother.
Yeah, he doesn't do that either.
No, he doesn't.
Newsflash. Mr. Musk, who said he bought Twitter to make it a free speech platform, is just making it for his speech. Because if he gets real, he gets
what
really
year
upset.
is it?
Anyway, back to, well, I guess it kind of ties in back to Zuckerberg and Meta. Where the hell were my notes go on that? Sorry.
Well, that's just it. He's using like his free speech on his platform, but it's like, just go comment on it and tell him he's a fucking idiot. You don't like what he says? Tell him you have just as much right as he does. He might ratio you. He might remove your blue check mark.
I have Zuck's video. You want me to just play the video?
Yeah.
Come on, Zuck.
But dude, the funniest thing about this is fucking as soon as he shares this this news comes out on how he's removing the fact checkers and lowering like the standards and opening up more free speech on the page, people started sharing this fucking fake article what the headline is: Facebook founder and convicted pedophile Mark Zuckerberg dead at 36.
Jesus.
Dead at 36 says social media sites should not fact check posts. Like people are just sharing fake bullshit articles, I think, just to test the grounds to see if it's fucking true or not.
Well,
and none of them are being fact checked.
It's actually really fair, because doing what we do, I can tell you right now, and I know there are creators that do a similar thing to what we do. I know for a fact our shit is not like prioritized in any way, shape, or form. Like, it is a nightmare to get our content to get any sort of traction.
Well, it might get better for us. It might honestly get better, because if you
That's
remember,
what I mean.
Yeah, this might be good for us.
I mean.
Personally.
Anyway, let's listen to the Zuck.
Hey everyone.
Video.
I want to talk about something important today, because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly. So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms.
You want to know what I just heard right there?
That Facebook was in fact censored by the government?
That's not what I heard just right there, but you're right. What I heard was Trump's going to be president, and I'm a businessman, and they're pushing
just going to stay out of the limelight.
Yeah, that administration is going to be pushing for more or less censored speech for now, until they have the opportunity to censor the speech that they don't like. But that'll be another discussion for another day. And this is all just Zuckerberg being a businessman, as it were. That's what I heard.
That's fair.
Dweeb.
That's a fair assessment.
More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote...
Pause. Starting in the US. Why did he say that? Why is it just in the US?
Because our constitutionally protected rights to the Second Amendment, First Amendment, other countries, they don't have that.
Also, in certain European countries, they're still way to the left, right? So we want to make sure we're still monitoring content over there to keep their governments happy so that they don't kick our platform out of their country, right? Like, can you see how like this is just kind of bullshit? Like, don't get me wrong.
It also logistically makes sense, right? Like the resources being used, dealing with 300 million or 100 million people using the platform versus 600. Manageable growth.
Kind of seems like something that's as easy as a flip of a switch.
Sure, it's easy to misconstrue that, but it's the same type of shit as when McDonald's starts selling McRibs again. It's usually like in sections, and then it rolls out. Like no, it's like I get it.
I don't.
Making sure it works.
Okay.
Nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far.
Slow down.
I want to make sure that people can share their beliefs and experiences on our platforms. Third, we're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. We used to have filters that scanned for any policy violation. Now we're going to focus those filters on tackling illegal and high severity violations. And for lower severity violations, we're going to rely on someone reporting an issue before we take action. The problem is that the filters make mistakes, and they take down a lot of content that they shouldn't. So by dialing them back, we're going to dramatically reduce the amount of censorship on our platforms. We're also going to tune our content filters to require much higher confidence before taking down content. The reality is that this is a trade-off. It means we're going to catch less bad stuff, but we'll also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down. Fourth, we're bringing back civic content. For a while, the community asked to see less politics because it was making people stressed. So we stopped recommending these posts.
Pause. And I'm gonna give credit to Hannah Cox on this one because she made this point on her show earlier today. Nobody ever asked to see less politics. Nobody asked for that.
No.
That was the government decided that.
Yeah.
Or you decided that, Zooks. It's one of the most engaging topics on social media is politics. Nobody asked for that. And by the way, are we going to get an apology in this video? Any sort of apology for what's the word I'm looking for? The where they don't outright ban content, but they black it out. Shadow ban.
This is the best you're gonna get, Dan.
I don't want it. I mean, I want it. Okay. Let's not go all libertarian. Let's not let the perfect be the enemy of the good. This is still a good thing. It's not enough, but it's all right. I'm gonna not get upset. Here we go.
But it feels like we're in a new era now, and we're starting to get feedback that people want to see this content again. So we're going to start phasing this back into Facebook, Instagram, and Threads while working to keep the communities friendly and positive. Fifth, we're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California, and our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas. As we work to promote
I didn't know that.
I think that it will help us build trust to do this work in places where there is less concern about the bias of our teams. Finally, we're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more. The US has the strongest constitutional protections for free expression in the world. Europe has an ever-increasing number of laws institutionalizing censorship and making it difficult to build anything innovative there. Latin American countries.
So there goes your whole, well, he's saying it like this because in certain countries, when you were talking about them starting it in America, when you were like, well, because he's a businessman, he still doesn't want to piss off the other countries or whatever. And then I was like, well, no, I think it's just a logistical issue. And he just,
I was right.
Yeah. No, I don't know. He just explicitly called them out for their increasing restrictions of speech.
Yes.
Yes. I told you that would be a good soundbite. Go ahead and start her back up.
Yeah, I got you.
Have secret courts that can order companies to quietly take things down. China has censored our apps from even working in the country. The only way that we can push back on this global trend is with the support of the US government. And that's why it's been so difficult over the past 4 years when even the US government has pushed for censorship. By going after us and other American companies, it has emboldened other governments to go even further. But now we have the opportunity to restore free expression, and I am excited to take it. It'll take time to get this right, and these are complex systems. They're never going to be perfect. There's also a lot of illegal stuff that we still need to work very hard to remove. But the bottom line is that after years of having our content moderation work focus primarily on removing content, it is time to focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our systems, and getting back to our roots about giving people voice. I'm looking forward to this next chapter. Stay good out there, and more to come soon.
So first thing I got to say, Dan, is on our podcast, when we were talking about the Twitter files and different things like that, we were called, you know, and maybe not so much on the show, but like I know I've had friends say that it was like conspiratorial to say that the government was influencing social media apps to censor people in America based on the content they liked or disliked.
Zuckerberg admitted it on when he was on with Joe Rogan.
He just admitted it again in this podcast.
He admitted
it again in this video.
He admitted it back then when he said that it essentially, he didn't, in not so many words, this isn't a direct quote, but basically the Hunter Biden story was shadow banned.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, he doesn't say anything about shadow banning, or it's like that whole thing where it's like, well, we're not going to ban you, but we're just going to make it impossible for people to see your content.
Right.
You know, the whole freedom of speech is not freedom of reach nonsense. Ken Klippenstein put together a piece because he read the terms. We can always count on Ken, right? Always. We can always count on Ken. He goes, this is a piece that he penned, was it yesterday? Yesterday, January 7th. So he says, today, Mark Zuckerberg announced his plan for, quote, restoring free expression on our platforms, end quote, going as far as saying, quote, the U.S. government has pushed for censorship, end quote. A review of Meta's newly updated policies, however, reveals that the changes are largely cosmetic. Many continue to what's that word? Events? I don't even know what that word is. Sorry. The same deference to government wishes that Zuckerberg claims to be fighting against, like Meta's ongoing blanket ban on, quote, information obtained from hacked sources, end quote, regardless of whether it's newsworthy. And then he shows a screenshot from the Meta policy that says information obtained from hacked sources, with the bullet point saying content claimed by the poster or confirmed to come from a hacked source, regardless of whether the affected person is a public figure or private individual. So essentially, you can't post news. You still can't post news if it comes from a hacked source. From an abstract concern, policies like these actively deprive the public of news. When I published the hacked research dossier on Senator Marco Rubio last year, Meta suspended all links to the article after receiving a notification from the FBI, as I reported at the time. And when I published a similarly hacked dossier about the then VP candidate J.D. Vance, we talked about this one on the show, resulting in a visit from an FBI agent, we talked about that as well. It may have violated Meta's policies to even report the agent's name, thanks to Meta's still active ban on content, quote, outing the undercover status of law enforcement, military, or security personnel. Here's some of the other content that remains banned on Meta, quoted directly from its policy pages. Bullet point number 1, glorification of so-called dangerous organizations and individuals or violent events, i.e. expressing any level of sympathy whatsoever for Luigi Mangione. Thoughts on that one, Corey?
So there's still obviously
they're still censoring
censorship, right?
Next,
and what's really
four
funny,
bullet points. Go ahead.
Okay, no, go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay,
no,
go ahead.
No, yeah, go ahead.
No, you go.
No, you go.
Bullet point number 2, quote, support, unquote, for such dangerous individuals, including, quote, directly quoting, end quote. God, I'm saying the word quote a lot. Without caption that condemns, neutrally discusses, or is part of news reporting, i.e., not a journalist, but hoping to post the Luigi Mangione manifesto? Tough luck. Bullet point number 3, publicly available information that Meta considers private. What does that even mean? And I'm not, that's not me saying that. That's Ken saying that. What does that even mean?
Right. I'm assuming that would be like posting a picture of someone's house or something.
Right. Publicly available information that Meta considers private. I have no idea what that means. And the final bullet point was private information obtained from illegal sources, i.e., emails hacked from a politician.
Which, if you didn't do the hacking, it's not illegal to share it. So
did everything Chelsea did. So basically, everything Chelsea Manning did.
What's funny about that, and going to sports, right? I watched the Connor Stallions thing, and how all the Ohio State fans are talking about how like there's going to be an asterisk against Michigan's name, but there's probably not, because the information that was used to say that he hacked all of, or to say that he was doing all of this, was probably hacked email stuff that is probably tied to Ohio State, which is fucking hilarious, because I love bringing that up in the little sports talks whenever they're like, oh, asterisks, like how'd they get that information? And NCAA is letting this one die in the water, I promise you. Because then Ohio State's going to get the way worse charge than Michigan did. Because what Michigan did,
because if that's the case, whoever took that information from Michigan's emails, they actually committed a fucking crime. Like,
right.
Actually,
what Michigan did was unsportsmanlike. Whoever did that shit committed a crime.
Yeah. As to where Michigan just allegedly cheated at football.
Right.
Not the same thing. This is the last paragraph I'm going to read from this, though.
Okay.
Unless you have something else to say. I just
one
last paragraph following the bullet points. The threats to free speech posed by these and other Meta policies are real and cut against Zuckerberg's purported desire to stand up to government censorship. Guess how Meta decides what constitutes quote-unquote dangerous organizations? By relying on the U.S. State Department's list of terrorist groups per Human Rights Watch report detailing the platform's systemic censorship of discourse on the Gaza war. For the high crime of merely interviewing Hamas officials to get them on the record, my former Intercept colleagues, Ryan Grimm and Jeremy Scahill, over at Dropsite News, have had their reporting removed by Meta. So it's just bullshit. Like, don't get me wrong. I am not going to go to Zuckerberg and be like, don't do this. Keep the fact checkers. I'm not going to say that. Like, this is a good thing, but it is like 10% of the problem when it comes to why X is more of a free speech platform than Meta will be even after these are enacted.
Right. So I got 2 points. The word events means reveal the presence of a quality or feeling.
That was the word I was looking for?
Or to be evidence of, to indicate. So events. Man's inhumanity to man as evinced in the use of torture.
So many continue to evince the same. Okay. And listen, maybe I'm a fucking idiot. I've never heard that word before.
Nope. You know what's really funny? Go and listen to the Bill Maher podcast with Bill Burr on there. And Bill Burr is just dog shitting on him because Bill Maher keeps trying to use $10 words. He's like, oh, listen to you. You just think you're so fucking smart. Would you read that? Like, oh, using Latin. He's like, you fucking smarmy prick. Like,
well, this is a little different. We have a lot of respect for Ken.
All right. But so here's when the left gets it wrong. Okay. You just laid out Ken Klippenstein talking about how, like, it's behind the shadows, behind the scenes, the government is still is putting the thumb on the scale to censor free speech. I'm on theverge.com. And the headline of this article is, here are some of the horrible things that you can now say on Instagram and Facebook. Meta's policy changes allow calling gay and trans people mentally ill or are we moving a ban on referring to women as household objects?
Yes.
I'm going to read the article. You already get the gist of it just from that. The header.
So awesome.
But it's like they're so upset about words that might offend somebody that never mind the fact that the government is still heavily influencing and trying to strip you of the right. Because in a country where the First Amendment is regarded as like a pillar of democracy, someone who has the right to say some vile, nasty shit, you have just as much of a right to call them out and call them a piece of shit for spewing vile, nasty shit. But if the government is involved and the government gets to decide whether or not you even get to see that vile, nasty shit, you're completely infringing the right of the First Amendment.
Yeah, it's like when Elon first took over,
and what you think is vile or nasty.
Yeah, well, and it's like when Elon first, and there's going to be more about this when this actually goes in, and you do have like the fucking Nick Fuentes types that are like jumping on Facebook and going, "Your body, my choice," and all that kind of bullshit.
Yeah, he's a fucking idiot.
It's
or
like the
Andrew
same thing
Tate and all the dumb shit he says.
Right. It's like when Elon first took over, and there was like a whole bunch of screenshots of like some troll account that has like 4 followers and no fucking profile picture going, "So am I allowed to say," and then they type out the N-word now. Like all these screenshots. It's like I'm on X all the time. Like I never see that word. Like ever. I never like it. Like who's like, are you going out and searching this because some fucking nobody account decided to use a shitty word that everybody hates on Twitter? Like that's what's going to happen. That's going to happen again with Facebook. It's going to be like, see, this is dangerous what Zuckerberg's doing.
And it's
right
funny
now.
because Saagar brought that up to Krystal on Breaking Points today, because she was like, yeah, I saw a lot more of stuff like this since Elon Musk took over. And Saagar goes,
no, you haven't.
No, Saagar goes, yeah, but it isn't more. It's just the algorithms are tailored to giving it to you because you feel enraged and you engage.
And you engage with it 100%.
Right. He's like, it's not that it's happening more. It's just the algorithms make it seem like it's happening more because it's tailoring to your engagement.
I don't expect Krystal Ball to understand that, to be very honest with you. And that's all I'll say about that.
And that's all I'm going to say about that. All right, Forrest Gump.
Yeah. I'm not going to dig too much further into the musings of Krystal Ball on Breaking Points at this point.
Yes.
I told you you'd love that one.
Oh, we had one more topic, didn't we? Oh yeah, Ohio.
We have a couple topics.
Well, we have one more topic that I care about. I don't give a shit about yours. We'll end with yours because yours is actually your two are actually kind of funny. So we'll end on a little bit of a fun note. But this one is pretty fucking dystopian. The Ohio governor, Mike DeWine, signed a bill that would allow municipalities around the state of Ohio the ability to charge the public for police videos, including body cam footage and prison cameras. Now, we have to be clear about what this bill says, because it's been kind of misconstrued as if it's a mandate. It's not a mandate. He's not saying that these municipalities have to charge. But he's giving them the ability to do so, which makes it a little bit of like a FOYA First Amendment gray area, right? Because the argument, I guess, for it would be, well, it's not a violation of the First Amendment because you still have access to it. But I would argue not everybody has $75 per hour of footage to pay.
Wow. You're sounding like me when I was arguing about school of choice.
What?
I said you sound like me last week when I was arguing against school of choice.
This is completely different.
I know. It's easily be able to explain away as a false equivalency. But what I'm saying is, like, that little paywall makes it available for some, but not others.
There is no paywall. There's public transportation. You can get your kid to school. You can get your kid to school. You're not paying any. You're not paying any,
You can
any extra money.
You can return some pop cans to
You're
get
not
that
paying
FOIA
any
request.
extra money out of your
That's
pocket.
only
for school.
750 cans, Dan.
You're not paying any extra money out of pocket to get your kid to school.
You just go out and collect 750 pop cans.
And
good.
by the way, we also discussed the idea of instead of giving money to
Yeah,
school
no,
districts,
I know.
giving
I'm
money
just
directly
being
to
an
kids.
asshole. But yeah, no, I'm on the same page as you. I'm
You're
not
a fucking asshole. But yeah, this to me seems like a FOIA violation. I don't see a way in which this is not a FOIA violation.
Yes.
No.
No, it is. Absolutely.
So they're allowed to charge up to $75 per hour of footage put out. And the argument is that, like, well, it costs a lot of money to put these put these videos together and hand them out. It's like, do Ohioans not pay fucking taxes? Do they not already fucking pay for this shit? I would imagine that Ohio has state taxes. I don't know what they are because, you know, it's the armpit of America. Sorry, I'm from Michigan. I have to say that.
I hate Ohio State.
How about next? How about next we start charging for to get your ballot to vote? I mean, it takes money and time to print these ballots, right?
Right.
Let's let municipalities charge for your ballot to vote. It was a 450-page omnibus bill hidden and passed at a closed meeting at 2 a.m. on a Saturday morning.
Well, here's the thing about shit like this: that it's not about the money. It's about creating one more hurdle to just access footage that could implicate.
And that's the whole thing is like
the state government.
How many of these municipality officials are not going to take advantage of this? Like if I'm a city manager or a mayor or whoever the hell controls that shit, why would I be like a chance for us as a city to make more money and have our cops and make it less likely for our cops to get in trouble for being the violence arm of the government? Why the fuck would we not take advantage of this? Like
right.
they would
100%.
like you'd be an idiot not to be honest with you. This is a terrible bill, and I hope the people of Ohio push back against this because this is a violation of your First Amendment rights. This is a violation of the Freedom of Information Act. And this, I don't care if this has to go all the way to the fucking Supreme Court. I do not want this to be a precedent because I do not want another state like mine or any of the other 48 besides
49.
us in Ohio. Besides us in Ohio, the other 48 states.
I apologize.
Yeah. Let me finish.
Sorry.
I don't want any other state to have to fight this fight. So like Ohio, do something good for once. and fucking fight this. This is bullshit.
What's the last thing that Ohio even did that was good? Just had some guys hop on a large kite and fly 100 feet.
Something like that. Although I'm also let's play both sides.
For real, what else has come out of Ohio other than flight?
I'm going to give you something. Okay. I'm going to give you something actually that Mike DeWine also did. So he did something real shitty, along, of course, with his state legislature because it had to pass through the legislature for him to even sign the bill in the fucking first place. But also, Mike DeWine signed legislation that makes nuclear power have a green energy designation.
Okay, I can get behind that.
That's great. That we like that, Mike DeWine. We like that because A, it's the greenest energy that we have, and B,
the greenest, most reliable.
That's all you need to know. Yeah. No, it's the greenest. It's the greenest by far. Wind isn't that green, as we know. We've been over this a million times. Solar isn't that green, as we know. There's a lot of
both
waste.
are intermittent. Yeah.
Yeah. And nuclear is just like there's literally no waste. I shouldn't say literally no waste. There's almost literally no waste when it comes to nuclear power. So like clap for Mike DeWine on that one. Let's fix the first one.
Yeah.
Fight this, Ohio. Fight this.
Like it's like, well, we have two options here. We can hold our police accountable and just like boost our like training and all that shit to make our cops not be so shitty. Or we could just make it harder to access the footage that is evidence that could be used in court that prove our cops are shitty.
Yeah.
Let's go with the second.
Let's help that violence arm. Help that violence arm of the government, right, Corey?
You know how I feel. You know how I feel about that. Every law is just oh fuck, how did I put that? Every law is a hand with a gun on it that is an extension of the government ready there to enforce it.
That's the reason we pay taxes.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you get a gun put to your head. Legal theft. Legalized
monopolization of violence.
Mm-hmm. That's what the government has. Do you have anything else to add to this this terrible Ohio bill?
It's fucking shitty. What I gotta say about that? It's believable that like all of these bills, like all these different things, like all the shitty ones pass at like 2 a.m. when no one's paying attention.
And they're always part of one of these fucking, 450 pages when you consider what a lot of what the federal government has had to look at is actually not that long.
Sure, but the federal is maybe
still.
10, like times it by 10, right? Like a 450-page omnibus bill for one state, and then the government has like a 4,500 for all 50. The ratio of this is ridiculously large.
Yeah. Anyway, fight this, Ohio. Please, for the love of God, fight this. Corey, on to your stories.
You want to smoke some more
Smoke
cigarettes?
more cigarettes, damn it. Biden says so. Joe Biden wants you to smoke more. Corey's got it.
Yep. I'm going to start off with actually I'm not going to do that. But I'm on which is actually I just downloaded the app. There's this website. It's called sane.com, Straight Arrow News, and like they're also pushing to be more like a grounded news where it's just non-biased news or whatever. Critics condemn Biden's last-minute push to lower cigarette nicotine levels. With less than 2 weeks left for the Biden administration, a regulatory review proposed cigarette nicotine levels be mandated and lowered. The plan aims to get accolades from anti-tobacco advocates on American streets. However, others interpreted the move as a cigarette ban that would exacerbate the black market. The proposal cleared an Office of Management and Budget Review last week. Food and Drug Administration Commissioner Robert Califf has until January 20th to issue the rule. Public health advocates believe setting a nicotine standard would be a positive step forward, as there currently are no limits. According to a recent National Health Interviews survey, 11.6% of American adults smoke cigarettes. All 11%. CDC figures showed an estimated 480,000 Americans die every year due to tobacco use. Cigarettes are a leading cause of preventable health. Now, I'm going to keep reading this article. But so 11.6 is like 2024 numbers. I'm wondering if you could find me the percentage of Americans that smoke cigarettes in, say, 1990 as like a watermark, right? CDC figures showed an estimated 480,000 Americans die every year due to tobacco use. Cigarettes are a leading cause of preventable death. In 2022, Califf said that the lowering nicotine levels would decrease the likelihood of future generations becoming addicted to cigarettes and help current smokers quit. Critics of the proposal said it would cause current smokers to use more cigarettes to compensate for lower nicotine levels, further harming their health. They claim it's going to keep America smoking and make the streets more violent. Opponents also estimated the black market for cigarettes would be in the tens of billions of dollars. Many cigarette users have already transitioned to other nicotine delivery options that are believed to pose fewer health risks, such as e-cigs. It remains to be seen if the Food and Drug Administration will issue the new rule before the Biden administration ends. After a public comment period, the incoming Trump administration will then make the final decision.
You want that number from 1990?
Yeah.
25.5%. Liberty Twitcher threw it out there for us, but I also asked ChatGPT, and we came up with the same number.
So it's already an issue being solved.
Right.
Less
smokers every year.
Let's talk about the fact that it's not the nicotine that is killing people. It is the addictive substance, sure, but it's all the other shit in the cigarettes that are harmful for you.
Yes. Nicotine.
Yes.
Yeah, there's been there have been plenty of studies on this that show that nicotine on its own is about as harmful for you as caffeine, but it is remarkably addictive. We know that.
Right. Nicotine by itself isn't.
There's a reason I still use these damn things. But were you ever like a regular cigarette smoker?
100%.
You were. Okay.
I was up to about a pack a day.
I never quite got to a pack a day, but I was pretty close to that. And here's what I can tell you. If I were still a smoker today, and I found out that there was legislation coming out that was going to like mandate the amount of nicotine in my cigarettes, you think I'm going to smoke less cigarettes or more cigarettes?
No, because your body's used to taking in a certain intake of nicotine, and then all of a sudden
I'm going to smoke
each have
cigarettes.
less. Right.
I'm going to smoke more.
It's like switching from reds to lights. Or ultra lights.
It's just asinine. It's absolutely asinine. This is actually going to make people smoke more cigarettes. And by the way, guess who's going to love that? The tobacco companies are going to love that.
Right. Well, that's like, remember switching from I don't know if you ever did it, but like I would just every once in a while like change like different brands and stuff. And I remember switching from like reds, and then I was smoking lights for a long time, and then I went from lights to what were they? They were like ultra lights or something.
Ultra lights,
and they have a bunch of holes in the filter.
I remember
buying one pack of those and hating them so much that when I was at home with them, putting Scotch tape around the fucking holes so I could just get a normal drag out of a cigarette.
You should just rip the filter off and smoked it like it was a Lucky Strike or something.
Yeah, I immediately I never bought a pack of that again because I literally felt like I feel like I had to smoke 2 or 3 cigarettes to get the same nicotine, which is just completely giving an anecdotal story to what you're saying when you talk about your hypothesis of smoking more. It's fucking stupid. First off, it's not the nicotine that causes all the harm. And second off, it will absolutely make people smoke more cigarettes.
It's just, and then like
when it's a problem that society is already solving on its own without government intervention because vapes came out.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because it kind of reminds me of, you remember when Juul, the vape company, was going through all that bullshit about like flavors and like
picked up after.
Right. Should they ban flavors or whatever? And I'm going to be straight up. Like, I will always have an affinity for Juul as a company because that's the first vape I ever used that officially got me off cigarettes. So like, I actually I like that company, but I remember like the mango was the big flavor that everybody liked. It was delicious. And but they banned it.
No. The Juul mango is what got me off of cigarettes as well.
And Juul voluntarily banned it because they were trying to like redo their image, because there's like a whole documentary, I think it's on Netflix, about Juul and like how they did the same thing. They marketed it kind of the same way that cigarette companies always did back in like the 50s and 60s and 70s. You know, the whole, the Joe Cool and the fucking Marlboro Man, and how cool it was to smoke. And Juul did the same kind of marketing for their product. And they were kind of trying to like they were trying to make that right. Because they got a lot of people, they got a lot of kids hooked on vapes. And it was this kind of give and take, as where like you had somebody like me who genuinely used that product as a means to quit smoking cigarettes. So like it helped me. But yeah, if I'm a parent and I got a fucking I got a kid who's hooked on vapes, I'm probably not going to be a huge fan of Juul. So like I get it. But what ended up happening was Juul goes out and bans, or I shouldn't say bans, I guess they self-banned their own flavors. And then there was, I don't know if you walked around like smoke shops around that time after that, there were companies coming out with little fucking like filters that you could stick the Juul in.
Yep.
It would give you the mango flavor. So it's like there's always like these loopholes that people
when they
find.
stopped selling the mango. I was doing that with the it was a little rubber thing, and then you'd have to like pop it. And I was doing that for a little bit, and then I switched to just disposables because it created a vacuum market for disposables, and all these different disposable vape companies, they learned what Juul did, and they stay in states because then the federal laws don't affect them as much if they're in a state. And that's why if you go on like Twitch and stuff and you see different people that are streaming, everyone's vapes look different. There's not one national brand. Like if you go out to like Portland, they have completely different brands to buy vapes of than what they have in Michigan. And I learned that the first time I went because I think that their vapes out there are shit on the West Coast. So I would buy 2 or 3 vapes here and just bring them with me when I went because I didn't like their vapes.
These nicotine pouches are similar in that way. Like they're a little bit different everywhere you go. I mean, obviously, I think Zyn is available like pretty much nationwide, and I'm not gonna lie, they're expensive. They are the best, but I only buy them once in a while because they're more expensive than some of the other ones. But yeah, this is, I guess, getting back on topic. This is
you know what I want to try before we get back on topic?
Stupid legislation. Go ahead.
I want to try the toothpick ones because when I like the first time I quit cigarettes before I was an asshole and told everyone that I was picking up cigarettes as my New Year's resolution because I thought it'd be funny. Because I did. I chewed on toothpicks because it's the oral fixation of putting something in your mouth, like all of that stuff that goes along with cigarettes. When you're trying to quit cigarette smoking, you want to eat shit and chew on shit and do all that stuff with your mouth. I just had toothpicks. I would just sit there and chew on toothpicks. I would just have 3 or 4
with his mouth.
I would have 3 or 4 in my coat or my jeans, and I would just have toothpicks. And then as a fucking joke, just to piss everyone off because I knew it would. Everyone's like, "Oh, I'm quitting cigarettes. Oh, I'm going to the gym. It's New Year's resolution." My New Year's resolution was picking up smoking again, and it worked. I picked up smoking again, and then the vapes came out, and I switched to that to quit my New Year's resolution.
I really don't know what he said at the end of this sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Fucking dumb. I don't know why I did that. I'd love to go back and kick my own ass because I probably wouldn't even be smoking vapes. I'd probably just be off nicotine. But I just thought it'd be a bit funny to fucking pick up smoking again.
I saw myself wearing pants like that. I'd have to kick my own ass.
Calm down! You fucking calm down!
That's actual audio of Corey when he first quit smoking.
Calm down! You fucking calm down.
You got anything else for us, Corey? Oh yeah, you had one more. You had where is it? Toxic semen. Gross.
Oh, gross. So I came across this CBS News article, and the headline is "Genetically engineered mosquitoes with toxic semen could kill females and curb the spread of disease," researchers say. So the government wants to use different like scientific methods such as CRISPR. We've talked about CRISPR on the show, or like what's the for genetically modified shit like the Pfizer vaccine and the Moderna vaccine, RNA vaccines.
We get a lot of milk.
They're called, right? But the government basically wants to genetically modify male mosquitoes to have like toxic sperm and then release them in different areas like Africa, Australia, and stuff, and places like that where mosquitoes are known to carry like deadly diseases like malaria, the equestrine, what's that one that's EEE, like Eastern equestrine something, but like all these different diseases that like, because millions of people die from diseases carried by mosquitoes, so they wanted to introduce mosquitoes whose sperm kills off the females to avoid these diseases that are causing widespread death.
Better hope Andrew Tate doesn't get a hold of this technology.
Why? What would he do?
Start putting it in himself.
Just to kill women.
Get rid of these damn broads.
Right, because he just hates women so much.
Wow. What an untraceable way it would seem to, like, if you were an asshole that wanted to like murder your wife. Like, wouldn't that be the way to go?
Well, I'm glad that you're on the same thought process as me, because my next question was, what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, right.
Like, I understand the concept of the idea.
Calm down!
It is absolutely that, like, through simple just vaccines, mosquito bites aren't like a life or death scenario here that they are like in Africa and stuff. Like, imagine like how much more of a big deal it is you get bit by a mosquito when, like, especially here, like Michigan, surrounded by water, a lot of swampland, mosquitoes are fucking everywhere. You forget to put on some bug spray, which God only knows what does to your body. You put on some bug spray, and if you don't put on bug spray and you walk into the woods, fucking, you could be in the woods for 5 minutes and have 30 mosquito bites. And it's just like, fucking mosquitoes. You're just mad because you itch. Other countries, it's like, oh, I'm gonna die now.
Mosquitoes are the world's most dangerous animal.
Mm-hmm.
Mosquitoes, according to ChatGPT, mosquitoes are responsible for approximately 1 million deaths every year worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And humans aren't inherently like, I mean, not humans, Americans aren't like safe from that either. Like, it's very rare here to die from a mosquito-borne virus. You know, like, I think we had one person die in 2019 from that equestrian one. West Nile, maybe one. You know, like, one person dies a year from West Nile virus.
Pandemic shut down the parks, Corey. Keep the people out of the parks.
They've done that before. There's some parks closed. Yeah.
I know they have.
Right. Like, the only one that we have to worry about in Michigan is like Lyme disease. Which, why isn't anyone focused on ticks?
And even that's pretty rare.
Yeah.
It's still pretty rare. I mean, way more rare than it is on the East Coast. A lot more people get Lyme disease out there.
I know someone in Michigan who got Lyme disease.
Yeah, it's here. Like, the ticks here do have.
They got fucked up, dude. Like, they got cerebral palsy from it. They're good now. You can't even tell. Like,
Bell's palsy.
Bell's palsy.
Not
sorry,
cerebral palsy.
Right, two very different things. He got Bell's palsy,
different things.
which he recovered 100%. He's fine, but for real, man, like, for about 6 months. Whole half of his face completely fucking paralyzed.
You look like Jimmy Carter there at the end.
Yeah, dude. Like watching him like try to drink water and like he had to like tilt his head. He had to do eye drops in one of his eyes because it wouldn't blink shut. Like, when he'd blink his eyes, like one eye just wouldn't close. Like, that's fucking wild. That's completely just bewildering to me.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know?
I had a scare this summer, remember? I thought on my birthday I got Lyme disease because I had a tick on my dick. Remember me talking about that?
You got an awkward situation. You got a female doctor looking at
it. Nope. I just I woke up and basically scratched my nuts and like,
here,
like,
maybe
like, I was in my hammock.
Corey, I could just see you with your fucking like foot up on like the kitchen sink and Austin like up underneath your butthole trying to check out the underside of your balls.
Make sure I don't have any more. Yeah, no, I mean, I woke up and like I was like my balls hurt, right? And I looked and like it was dark and I felt like something there and I shined up like my light on it for 1 second and I just saw something that looked black and I freaked out and just took my nails and just pinched it and like all of the skin and like basically made a big hole in my nutsack because I ripped out the skin with it, like, because I didn't want it in me. Freaked out.
Gross.
Yeah, sorry, that was very
gross,
very explicit for our podcast, for our PG podcast.
We have to stay woke,
but didn't get Lyme disease. So, but I also, it's funny, like, it's like I also put myself from the perspective of the tick, and it's like, damn, that was probably a really fucking good spot to go.
Yeah, nice and warm.
Nice and warm, a lot of blood.
A lot of salt. Feel salty.
Salty, bloody, warm, cozy spot. A spot that we naturally protect, whether he's there or not. Like free ride, man. Fucking socialist.
Fucking socialist ticks.
Ain't gonna have no socialist ticks sitting on my dick, brother.
Ain't gonna steal my means of production, brother.
Fucking stupid.
You got anything else? Tell the people where they could find us. No, we're good. I'm so ready to get out of here. I hate this fucking show.
Libservative Podcast is found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our website is libservativeshow.com. We can be found at Libservative on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Instagram and Twitter at LibservativePod. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libservative Podcast. And you can reach out directly at libservativepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today.
Not tomorrow.
No, just do it right now. It takes like fucking 2 seconds. You can hear us talk about toxic semen.
Just what everybody wants.
Don't get bogged down by all the haters out there.
Oh my God, I have to go check out the George Santos podcast. I'm so excited for this. I can't even
You're just like,
dude, this is how I'm going to open the show next week. I'm just going to talk about, I'm going to do a recap. That's going to be my secondary show. I'm going to do a recap podcast of the George Santos podcast. Like that is going to be my life until that show doesn't exist anymore. Anyway,
it just your intro music is just him saying, "Don't be bogged down by all the haters out there.
Fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself."
Anyway, Bill the Bodysnatcher's not here. Hopefully, he'll be back next week, and then he'll be back. He just kind of shows up when he wants to. It's just kind of the life we live here at Libservative,
like a stray cat.
Yeah, he has been Corey Walsh,
and he's Dan Griffin.
It's been Libservative, intellectual idiots fostering political and cultural literacy. And until next time, we are out of here.
Peace.